Hey, this is Steve Sharippa. You're listening to Jim and Florence on the forum, and make sure you listen.
Hi, everyone. This is James Patrick, and we are just really enjoying our time off. And I know I've been away a little bit, but boy, we really appreciate all the fans and everyone that has stuck by us. We just got more India, if you could believe it, in India and Asia, we are blowing up. And even on vacation, we reached 6 million people on our social media accounts for the week. So Florence and I are we're so blessed by you guys. You guys are so amazing. So thank you all. And for all our good news, yes, we're finally going to tie that knot. So we got a lot of things going on. So I'm really excited. And Florence, boy, it's been an incredible 3 weeks for us. And now getting back into the game, it's going to be even more incredible. Why don't you introduce our amazing guest?
Yes, his fans are so looking forward to this, just as you and I are, Jim. We have the iconic wrestler and #1 New York Times best-selling author, and a very accomplished and sought-off actor as well. We have Mr. Mick Foley with us on the forum. Hi, Mick. Nice to meet you.
Well, thank you. It's nice to meet both of you. I believe this is the second time that we're trying this through no fault of yours. It didn't happen the first time.
Oh,
but,
Mick. That's okay. I have to be honest, Mick, out of all the guests we've ever had, and we just did a couple of Sopranos actors we've been really lucky to have come on, and we have been divulged with so many questions. You are the #1 question guy. We have so many questions that people have of yours. So we have a lot of fans that are going to be very excited. And we have some I have 2 from Japan. So nice. we're going global. But anyway, Mick, I first wanted to start. I loved what you said about Herb Abrams, and we are obviously with the specials that occurred with the Dark Side of the Ring with wrestling, the guys did a good job. I don't think they went in it as in depth because they didn't have enough time. After that episode with Herb Abrams, it was either a hate or love. It was like everyone was saying what an idiot the wrestlers were to follow him, and then others were saying, you know what, this guy really was a good guy. He really was so excited, and his enthusiasm was so infectious. In real life, because you did know him somewhat, what kind of a guy was he? Was he kind of that just psycho, had all these issues, or was that just kind of a part of his personality that rarely saw?
First of all, I apologize. Cough came out of nowhere.
Oh, no problem.
Tickle in the throat. I hope it came across that I think most of us really liked Herb. Like, even when he was bouncing checks, it was hard to stay angry at him. Mm-hmm. You would get angry, but it'd be really difficult to stay angry. I can tell you that, my wife really liked Herb. Like, she identified him as a guy with a substance problem pretty quickly.
Yeah.
My wife is 5 years older than me, and she'd been around the New York club scene when she was younger, and she was like, well, he's got a cocaine problem. I was like, how can you? She knew right away. Yeah. I had no idea. I was kind of naive to that stuff. But she thought he was a genuinely nice man. I really liked working for him. I mean, he could aggravate me sometimes. But I wrote about this in my first book, my 1999 book. I said, when I read about Herb's death, I went, oh, my God, Colette. My wife's name is Colette. Herb Abrams just died. And my wife's, obviously very concerned, upset. She said, what happened? And I started reading the circumstances surrounding his death, and I couldn't make it through reading without laughing because the circumstances were so ridiculous. Yeah. He's found naked, lathered in baby oil. Not that there's anything funny about chasing sports around the office building with a baseball bat, but it was just so outlandish that I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop myself from laughing, and I thought, that's not an insult to Herb. I think he would have liked to have known he was entertaining us until the end.
Yeah, I remember I think it was B. Brian Blair. He said He died doing what he loved, doing cocaine and chasing hookers.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But
Uh,
I did see the recent episode of you guys, and I forget exactly what podcast it was, where you guys you have a friend that made some cookies, and you guys did some cookies, ate some milk and cookies in his honor. And I
they
thought
weren't just cookies. They weren't just cookies. They were Herbie cookies.
that's right, Herbie cookies. So
my friend Marge, she's the Van Gogh of cake and cookie art, culinary art. And she made these amazing cookies. I mean, she even had like the chest hair. It was gingerbread cookies, chest hair, even the fade, like the blonde fade and the receding hairline.
yeah.
Yellow ostrich skin boots, and then she made separate. Speaking of laughing, she made separate UFC title belt cookies, ostrich skin cookies, and then one of the big pops is where Sonny Beach. Sonny was very close to Herb, so he was pretty choked up talking about him, and talked about how he had adopted Herb's dog upon Herb's death, and they said, "What was the name of the dog?" And as soon as she said "Cokie," like. Who names their dog after their favorite drug?
Oh my God.
Dog named Cokie. So yeah, we did toast Herb Abrams, and hopefully the fondness we felt for Herb shone through in that podcast.
Now, I'll have to say you're my favorite right now. You are tied with Bruiser Brody, and I loved your comments in the Bruiser Brody special. What were your feelings about Bruiser Brody and his style? Because I had some Japanese, I have a medical business, and I had some Japanese patients that were huge fans of wrestling, and they actually saw him wrestle, and they said the highlight of his wrestling career was to get hit by the chain when he would come out in the Immigrant Song in Japan. What was the exact things that really got you? Was it his style, just his maniacal way, especially of being Hill? What really attracted you to being such a fan of Bruiser Brody?
Oh, wow. Well, I saw in Brody exactly what I wanted to try to do. I love those matches that were full of mayhem. But long before there was an MMA at a UFC, I liked the type of things that you could look at your friends and go, I think that may have been real. Like, a lot of what I chose to do was based around trying to get friends around the world, around the country, around the world, to turn to their friends and go, all right, I know most of that wrestling is but I think that was real. Or at the very least, I think, the impact or the fall or the pain, I think that was real. I knew I was 6'4", 220 when I broke into wrestling. My first match was 6'4", 220. I wasn't physically imposing enough to brawl like Brody. My other favorite wrestler was this is post Jimmy Snuka. Love Jimmy Snuka. I think the reason I got into wrestling, but once I was in, it became Bruiser Brody and Dynamite Kid.
Oh God, icon! Yeah,
Dynamite Kid was an amazing flying wrestler, technical wrestler, strong style wrestler, as we say now. I thought, I can't brawl like Brody. I can't do any of the things like Tommy. I can't do them as well. But if I can take aspects of Brody's brawling style and mix it in, combine it with Tommy Dynamite Kid Billington's his ability to launch his own body as a weapon, I thought, if I can put my own twist on those two styles, combine them, I may be onto something. And as I progressed, I borrowed liberally from the library of Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Randy Savage, guys that I saw that I, at certain points tried to emulate. And somehow it came, by putting my own stamp on it, it came out as a unique style.
Now, the complaints of today, obviously, with WWE and some of the other companies, that the wrestlers don't have as much say in their characters, even in their promos. Back then, when the heyday, when you were really going great, my first love of you was when you attacked Sting. As Cactus Jack, I think it was in the 91, and I just fell in love with Cactus Jack. I just thought, man, what an amazing character, did you have so much more leeway back then, or did they let you be who you wanted to be and who you were, or was there also a little bit of control as well?
Oh wow! When I had 2 runs in WCW as Cactus Jack. First was from I think November of '89 through June of 1990. And then I came back and I was Cactus Jack. I dropped the Manson name on my own because I didn't think I needed it, and I didn't want it. And I think my wife probably deserves a lot of credit for making me believe that I was capable of more than I had already done. So when I came back, I had really learned how to visualize not just what I wanted to do in the ring, but what I wanted to bring to life in promos. And so I showed up at CNN Center. I'd never gone to CNN Center in my first run because I wasn't a big enough star to cut local promos. That's where they would say, okay, you got 30 seconds, Montgomery, Alabama, 2 weeks from today, go. So nobody was scripting anything because you might show up and do 50 promos. And instead of just having the same promo and altering the dates, the times, and the cities, I would try to have a different story to tell for each promo I did. I'm not saying all of them were completely different, but a lot of them were different. And it's just that constant repetition, that muscle memory process that today's superstars don't have the benefit of. So, literally you were learning to think, not literally, but you were learning to think, I think literally you're learning to think on your feet.
Sure.
And things are coming to you where you can cut promos on a moment's notice, especially if somebody fires up a promo on you because it's unscripted, then your reaction is unscripted and therefore more real. I'm not saying there were many, many times where promos were awful. I mean, I like to think that not many of mine were, but there were a lot of, hey, daddy, let me tell you something, brother. There was a lot of cliches being thrown around. But what I have said in the past is that there's an element of magic that's either there or it's not. I still believe American baseball is the best metaphor for life.
Sure.
And so I believe by scripting the promos you eliminate the strikeouts. You greatly cut down on the strikeouts, but those moments where you just hit the ball out of the park and watch it sail are much fewer and further between because you're not creating as much as you are, perform. I don't know. You're not creating as much as you are rehashing.
Yeah.
And so I urge today's superstars, like, look, I say nobody that I know of has an Academy Award on their mantle for a role they wrote. Stallone came close. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. There may be 1 or 2 in the history of the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences, but they're all given to people who embrace the roles, in some ways, inhabit the roles. So if it is what it is, as far as scripted promos, you need to find a way to make them as legitimate as you can.
Yeah, I think I was always a heel guy. I loved Mr. Perfect, Macho Man. Half of Macho Man's promos, I have no idea what he was talking about, but I was in. I was like, God, whatever he's saying, I believe. And I think that's what I miss is that believability. When Stone Cold got his final character and he became Stone Cold Steve Austin, boy, I just thought this guy could kick the crap out of anybody. He's just so awesome. And I think that's what I miss is the storytelling. I miss the in-ring storytelling. I loved Cactus Jack's psychotic, just that maniacal smile and the evil, like you were just having a good time, but you're destroying people. I just love that stuff, and I really miss it in today's wrestling. And I know everything changes and all that stuff, but I really do miss the great promos and great characters. Rick Rude, I used to love his promos and just his sheer arrogance. It was just, and Bobby Heenan, who I got to know a little bit, he was always really fun. So I really miss that. But when we go back and you look at your characters, and obviously you became, you were great at WCW, and you became an iconic figure at WWE. When did you really first realize that, man, I got something in this? Because you really paid your dues. When was the first match that you felt, I'm good. I'm going to make it. Or did it just really eventually come, or was there anything that hit you that really said, wow, I belong?
Well, I'm going to answer that, but first I'm going to give what might seem like a blatant self-promotional plug, but there's a purpose behind it besides promoting myself, and then I'll address that. They kind of bleed into each other. I've been really fortunate during this pandemic to have had the Cameo videos kind of fall into my lap, and my daughter can vouch for me. I have a room I go to, and she'll hear me doing my Cameo videos where I will give people mankind, or I call it a guy wearing a cheap rubber mask from Amazon, because I don't own the rights to that name.
Yep.
I'll give people mankind, I'll give people dude love, and I love doing it, but I can do caricatures of those two characters, but I'll tell people I can't do Cactus Jack, because to really do justice to Cactus Jack, I would have to, there's a depth of character there and digging down deep that I can't do anymore, because those promos when I was Cactus Jack were really raw and very real. And the crazy thing is, like, if you go back to one specific day, and this is in answering your question, I think there's always little steps, it's not one giant leap, although I can, as I say giant, there's no one giant leap. I can pinpoint one giant leap, but I'm going to tell you that there were 3 promos I cut in one afternoon in the basement of the cameraman's house when I worked for ECW. And my children were very young. I think they were 3 and 1 or 4 and 2. And I dropped them off at a park. I went to cut my promos, cut 3 of the best promos I've ever cut in my life, including the Kane Dewey promo, which is coming up on its 25th year anniversary.
Yep.
And then I was able to pick them up, and I was like completely at ease, because getting very real, like frustration and anger off my chest was very therapeutic. I think people pay top dollar, to have the type of outlet that I had for free that I got paid for. So when I talk about a giant leap, it was the moment working for Herb Abrams that I no longer felt foolish doing backstage promos, because it's easy to flip the switch when you have a live crowd.
Yeah.
It's more difficult when you're in front of a cameraman and a sound guy who have seen it all. Like, they have literally done, go to Center Stage, for example, not Center Stage, CNN Center. These guys are hearing 500 interviews a week in and week out. So they've literally heard tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of wrestling promos. And you can sense the boredom. And once I realized I could flip that switch backstage, everything changed for me. So that was one dramatic moment. Finding a booker in Eric Embry who embraced me and the character when I went to Texas, that was really important. And then, like I said, my wife had a real positive effect on the Cactus Jack character. And when I did my series of matches with Eddie Gilbert in 1991 and was able to become a bigger player in wrestling without benefit of TV. So I was able to become more valuable to the wrestling business when I went independent, and that was unusual. And it was really rewarding and paid off for me, because when I came back to WCW in 1991, I was able to cut promos and strike fear into the hearts of men, women, and children.
Yeah, and it was fun. We loved it.
Thanks.
My mom didn't love it. My mom says, "Why do you always gotta like the bad guys?" So, but I loved Jake Roberts. I loved you. I loved the more evil, the better. So that was fantastic. Now we're talking again, and I'm going to brag a little bit, Mick. We have been promoting your Cameo to various websites that we belong to, and also our Twitter page. So we are going to continue to do that. We are obviously online marketers, and we love Mick, and so you're going to see a lot of his cameos on. And boy, I'm telling you, his Cameo is so popular, and it is so good. Go on to Cameo. In fact, Monday when we release this, go on the links and they'll give you actually some of the calls that he has done. It's absolutely amazing. Stop spending money on $30 Mulan Disney movies. Good Lord. Go to Cameo and use your money to talk to an icon like Mick. Mick, you were trending. Cobra Kai, which is a huge, has become a huge show. That is a show that kind of followed the Karate Kid story. Cobra Kai star Paul Walter Hauser said that his character, Stingray's father, if it is ever on the show, it has to be WWE legend Mick Foley. That is his choice. We are going to start a groundswell of getting Mick, and Mick, I'm going to take 5%, but we are going to do a groundswell of you being the Stingray's father in Cobra Kai, Paul Walter Hauser. That must make you feel good.
No, the reason I put out a tweet saying I'm a Stingray guy. And then I just tagged in Paul because I'd heard he was a big wrestling fan. So somebody had told me that. I started watching Cobra Kai, and I was hooked. I think I put out a tweet about, I'm not really prone to hyperbole, but I think it's the best show. Don't tell my mom. If she finds out Outlander's not my favorite show, break her heart. I love Outlander. And it's been amazing bonding with my mom over that show. But as soon as I'd heard great things about it, but it was, the thing is, I would see Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka at comic conventions. And it was probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, that we're driving back. We're in the same van. It's me, Rey Mysterio, Ralph Macchio, and Cindy and Bobby Brady.
Oh, my God.
You never know who you're going to wind up with. On the way there, it was Beverly D'Angelo, who is literally my favorite actress. And there's a great story there, but I don't think we have time for that one. But Ralph was telling me about this thing they were shooting, and he was like, they're grown up, they're in their 50s, they're dealing with regular problems, and I thought, well, this sounds good. And then I would hear the buzz about it, but I'm not technologically proficient. I don't even know what YouTube Plus is or how to get it. So when I saw it pop up on Netflix, I thought, let me give this a try. And after 2 episodes, I sent a tweet saying, where might one go to get treated for a Cobra Kai addiction?
Boy.
I think I'm hooked.
Yeah.
And as the show progressed, I'm renting a house in Florida with my daughter because my wife has a couple of underlying conditions. She's very, very cautious about coronavirus.
Sure.
So when we go over there, we have to mask up. Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's not a situation you can maintain. So we're renting a house, and I was like, hey, you want to watch Cobra Kai? And so we watched. My daughter, keep in mind, for some reason, I think it's a failing as a parent, never saw the original Karate Kid.
Man.
She said she saw it. She can't remember it. But nonetheless, she watched every episode, and her boyfriend came over, and we watched all of season 2. I even went out and bought a case or a 12-pack of Coors Banquet beers for the finale.
Oh, boy. Wow.
And I rarely curse. No, you can vouch for me, right? Rarely curse. And I know ASS is one of those borderline words.
Yeah.
And I said that a bunch of times on wrestling over the years. And I've said the word from time to time, but never as much as I've said it in the last 2 weeks, because everything that Johnny Lawrence is, he's really intent on everything being kick, blank, bad.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm letting those words fly in a way I never have in my life. So I love the show. And to hear that I'm trending because of it, that's cool.
Oh, we're doing a groundswell. It has to happen because I think that you would bring a lot to it. And you've done so many different things. I was telling Florence, look, you've done game shows. You've done, you did a DJ for, I think it was Bruce Springsteen in a radio show. You've done so much amazing things, and I love your presence. And we have a couple more questions, and we're talking to great Mick Foley. Mick, what is your big accomplishment? Obviously, your family. We fell in love with your wife Colette and your family with Beyond the Mat. With her, what a great family you have, and we're so happy for their success. what is your kind of accomplishments outside your family that it may not be famous, could it be you're writing a book or something like that? What are a couple of your accomplishments that deep down inside they're really special to you?
Well, writing the first book was a really big deal because at the time I wrote it, I'm not saying the idea of an athlete or an actor actually writing their own book was unheard of, but it was really rare. Rare to the point where when I told Judith Regan I wanted to write the book myself, I didn't think the ghostwriter was doing a great job. Like I was met with, silence that was deafening. I think by, I wasn't computer literate and I had 50 days to meet the deadline. They wanted a 60,000 word book. I gave them 180,000 words, handwritten in 50 days.
Yeah.
And I think doing things like that just showed people like, hey, if he can do it, so can I. And I think in the same way, it's the same way with wrestling, that I was seen as a guy who wasn't either big enough or athletic enough. Like in Japan, you had to be a Brody or a flyer. That was what it was said. I remember one of the promoters in Japan telling me there's really not a market for what you do. You're not big enough and you're not athletic enough. And I found a way to make a character work. And I think that guys saw the success I had, especially when I got to WWE, where I was not thought to be a WWE guy at all. And I think I gave some hope to guys who didn't have a phenomenal genetic hand to play with.
I think you did. And segueing that, as we segue in a genius way, obviously your friend Ron Fuller, he has a great book that's out, Ron Fuller Welch, Brutus. And we were laughing because we did a podcast the other day with Ron that a tiger was actually seen in Knoxville, Tennessee, and it was seen, and they still haven't caught it, and they don't know what happened to it. And if it goes into the rock, I told Ron the best thing that could happen to you is if it goes into the Smoky Mountains and never is found. I said that could be the best thing. So, and Ron, please get his book as well, as we do a shameless plug, Brutus, as we've been marketing that as well. Ron is such a good friend, and we love him to death. But last question, I don't want to take too much of your time, Mick. What do you have?
Can we talk about Ron's book for a second?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Robert was a mentor for me in 1988 and 89 when I worked with him in Memphis, and then when Rob was the booker. So Ron doesn't think we've ever met. I think we met once. So, but it was a long time ago. But when Robert told me, Jacko, I can't do justice to Rob's voice.
I know.
He's got that great voice.
Yeah.
And he told me his brother had a book, was wondering if I could take a look at it. I thought it was going to be a memoir. And I thought, well, third generation wrestler promoter is probably going to be a good book. So when it arrived and it was a novel, I was kind of surprised. I don't read many novels anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I started reading them cynically when I became a writer. And I found I could only really enjoy the works of authors who had praised me for my writing. Otherwise, I was like, "What you call this good writing?" Like, you don't know anything about prose, So, so I don't read novels like I used to. One time I was a really enthusiastic reader of novels. But once I got into the book, I was like, whoa, this guy knows how to create characters. Talking about Ron. And so he obviously has you can tell people what the plot is in one sentence.
Yeah.
And it's a great plot. Biggest lion known in captivity gets loose in the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah.
That's a cool plot. But it's the characters that Ron creates surrounding the plot that make it work. So I suggest people go out there. I think it would make a great movie. I know Ron said one reviewer had compared it favorably to Jaws.
That was me.
That was you, yeah.
Florence and I did a review, and now everyone's taking it. So, and what's funny is Jim Cornette, and thank you, Jim, as well. He obviously loves you, but Jim gave us some really great plugs, and thank you so much, Jim. You're very kind, even though a lot of people don't think that. You were very kind to me and to Florence, so we appreciate it. But Jim had said, you know what? I'm not scared of Jaws. I don't go in the water. I'm scared of Brutus because I'm on land. He can get me wherever I want, wherever he wants. So I thought that was really good. But Ron, great book. Last question. I don't want to take too much of your time, Mick. But what are some of the things that you're upcoming? Obviously, COVID. You had I love on YouTube seeing your comedy circuit where you're going out talking about your career. You're going on stage. Are there any dates that you have? I noticed you had some dates. Is it just kind of hopefully you're going to do them, or what is your future plans, the near future for those dates?
Yeah, we had to cancel the tour because of COVID. I just didn't want to be in a situation where, I'm going from state to state, possibly picking it up and then becoming a spreader, especially during the meet and greets. I am keeping one show in Tampa because I can assure people that I'm COVID free going in, and then I can get tested right afterwards. So if there is an issue, I can go, hey guys, and then encourage people to social distance and all that. But I'm going to get back out there next year. In the meantime, it's really basically Cameo.
Where are you going to? Do you have things in the works other than Cameo, or are you're just going to kind of? Obviously, you don't need the money, but do you have anything in the works in the future?
Yeah, my daughter and I are talking about doing a show on Twitch together.
Oh,
I was a guest on Soraya, so no longer Paige, Soraya. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, this is one thing when it talks about speaking out. I had heard that WWE was really cutting back on allowing their superstars to make money through third-party channels like Cameo, like Twitch, like YouTube. Mm-hmm. And so I put out a statement on Twitter, and I just said, that strikes me as a crummy thing to do. I love Vinnie Mac, but he's wrong on this one. And and then Kevin Nash joined in, and Kevin and I, said, that Kevin had his reasons for saying, hey, if they're employees, then ask about your health benefits, your profit sharing. If they're independent contractors, let them do what they want. And I think they reached a solution within 2 or 3 days. Okay, we'll let you do it, but you have to do it under your real name. So I'll say it was Soraya's show, and I really had fun. She really stressed that it was a positive atmosphere. People could relax. You're enjoying a good conversation. You're among friends, and so Noelle and I have been talking about joining forces. My daughter Noelle and I joining forces for a Twitch show. But I'm enjoying myself. I'm really thankful to Cameo for giving me not only an outlet to make money, but an outlet to kind of bring caricatures of my characters to life, and people really seem to enjoy it. And I'm not, I want to see this, pandemic come to an end as soon as possible. And then I can worry about my next steps.
Last question, Mick, and I'll let you go. What is your thoughts? Because I think it's criminal that wrestlers don't have health care. I just, and you're not, you gotta, I know what wrestlers are going to say, but I think it's absolutely criminal. What do you think about this growing? A lot of actors have been talking about it lately, of the wrestlers joining SAG. Do you think that that's something that you would be, what do you think the solution is? Because something has to happen. These guys, you can't control their lives or their livelihood and then say, oh, well, you're a private contractor, I have no control over you, but then you control everything they do. What do you think the solution is?
Oh, the solution is, SAG, I believe, combined with AFTRA. And if we don't fit the definition of American Federation of Radio and Television Artists, logged more TV time than most movie stars.
Yep.
What I'm told is that there's not enough of us to make it worth the fight for AFTRA, because there's not 20,000 actors or whatever there's maybe 200 wrestlers making a living. And I talked to Eric Bischoff, who's a really knowledgeable guy, about the pros and cons of unionizing. And he said one thing people don't realize is that the guys, when I say the guys, I'm talking about the men and women collectively, they'd have to give up a lot of the things we do independent-wise if we were part of a union. Because, your shelf life as a WWE superstar is kind of limited. Yeah. And then to do a show that wasn't, in the same way that SAG frowns on actors doing non-union jobs, we would be frowned upon for doing independent shows that didn't have union lighting, and then a lot of these shows, they are run by the skin of their teeth. Guys turn profits by selling, merchandise.
Yeah.
And so he said, in trying to help the business, you might actually be hurting the business and depriving people of their chance to make a living. So what I suggest that people do is, as young as possible, get health insurance. We're lucky that we are in an age where you can get health insurance with pre-existing conditions. All of us who wrestle have pre-existing conditions, and we'd be laughed at without, that special plank in the healthcare platform. Get your healthcare and keep it.
Yeah.
And also start contributing to your own SEP IRA as young as possible, because we would all like an insurance fairy to come in and, take care of us, and a retirement fairy. But until that happens, it's on us to fund our own retirement. And guys and women who happen to have a few big years, they can really set themselves up for a pretty decent retirement. But you have to stress how important it is. And I think part of the problem we have is that in our early 20s, especially people who gravitate towards wrestling, they don't believe in their own mortality. And they're not thinking down the road. I would love for the record, I would love to see WWE and AEW people become part of AFTRA. But until that becomes a reality, I think we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. Khan may be more into it. I don't know about Vinnie Mac. I don't think he's going to like it, Mr. McMahon. But boy, something has to happen, because it's just, I hate seeing you guys give so much of yourselves, and we're so appreciative. And I'm going to let Florence close this. Go ahead.
If I were Vince McMahon, I would take the initiative to make it happen before to make it happen. Why not? I mean, the company had a phenomenally successful quarter, found a way to have one of the best quarters in a huge economic downturn and a global pandemic. This is a great company. They've always found a way to stay ahead of the curve. Why not take the initiative and be the good guys instead of being seen as the guys who, went down kicking and screaming to take care of their employees?
I agree. Well, independent contractors.
Yes.
But really in real life employees. But Mick, I'm going to ask you something off the air real quick, but I'm going to let Florence close out the show. Thank you so much. You gave so much of your time. We are going to be promoting so much of what Mick is doing, his Cameo on Twitter. We're big Twitter people, as a lot of you know. We're going to be promoting his Cameo. His Cameo, please go on it. It is one of the best cameos out there. We have a lot of great cameos that we've been supporting, but man, it is one of the great ones out there. But thank you so much, Mick. And Noelle has done fantastic online. Please do that Twitch thing. That would be so great. And I hope the rest of your family does well. Thank you so much. But I'll let Florence close it out.
Well, this was huge, Jim. This was amazing. What a great interview. I know Mick's fans are going to be so excited when we release this on Monday. And we definitely want to give another big thank you and a big shout out to Mick Foley and to Mick's fans. And again, this is one they're not going to want to miss. Thank you to all the fans of the forum. You guys have been amazing. Thank you for all your support. And again, look out for this interview with the iconic and legendary Mick Foley on Monday.
Take care, everyone. Be safe, wear your mask, and take care of each other.